People power growth, but recruiting and onboarding are expensive, exhausting, and absolutely overwhelming. I've been there, and it doesn't have to be this way. Welcome to Hire and Empower. I'm your host, Molly McGrath. Join me as we interview leaders who care about their teams and distill powerful lessons from them. This show is sponsored by H&E, helping organizations to find their best hire and empower them for success. Learn more at hiringandempowering.com. All right, gang, here we go. People are looking at their numbers. They're looking at where they set out to hit for the year. Maybe you've crushed goal, maybe you've exceeded goal, maybe you've been oh so close, and maybe you've absolutely sucked at it from your terms. If that's the case, maybe you're sitting in there. I'm so excited because John with Ettinger Tech is here today. John, thank you for being our guest again. It's been a while.
Thank you, Molly. I love being on your show.
Yeah. So in our law firm admin boot camp, we are going into week 9 of 12, I think, this week. And John has been teaching every single Thursday, teaching about intake, the role of client service coordinator, and how that is the hub of everything, your calendar, your conversions. So go your calendar, so go cash flow. You've heard me say it a million bajillion times. And John's been also teaching about the value of the workshop. So if any of you are not in our law firm admin bootcamp, I cannot stress enough. Go to lawfirmadminbootcamp.com, get on the waiting list. We are kicking off Tuesday, January 10th is our next group. And it's been absolutely just mind-blowing. John was just sharing with me that last Thursday I was at a conference and he said, man alive, Megan was on the call and she is a rock star. She's never worked in a law firm anymore, but the power of the questions that she's coming. We spoke and taught on the client goal calculator last week. Well, the Prospective. It's not for clients, it's for PNCs, for prospects. We're going to kick off today. And Megan's just like so committed to get this in her bones. She's so committed to show up to the weekly stakeholders meeting and know her numbers. And John's here today. He's created an extraordinary tool for you all for free. We're going to have the link in the show notes to talk about know your numbers and sharing it with your team. When we say know your numbers, we're not talking about opening up QuickBooks, opening up your PNLs. So take a deep breath. We're talking about the front of your house. The front of your house, guys, that's your sales force. Call it a receptionist, call it especially if you are outsourcing your intake. And John's going to come and share with us today about this amazing tool that he's created, but also the why behind it, about why it's so important and what he's experienced with working with law firms in regards to, and he created this tool out of absolutely listening and coaching and working with so many law firms over the years about just the frustration of we don't have enough money in the bank. We don't have enough initial consultations. We don't have enough conversions, what have you. So John, thank you for being our guest today.
Yes, thank you so much, Molly. No, go ahead.
No, so talk to us about really, truly just stream of consciousness around this Prospective client goal calculator and what really drove you and Beth, founders of Ettinger Tech. What really drove you to this place? I know you and I banter all the time. We talk on Thursdays. And then one night it's like 8 o'clock at night. You're like, I got it. I created it. I crushed it. Take a look at this. I'm like, oh my God, do you sleep?
Yeah. So obviously we've been in business here for 5 or so years, and we've worked with so many law firms and we've learned all the struggles. And then just our conversations together, Molly, of what law firms are really struggling with. And the big thing we've learned is their goals and reporting. So they want to just jump headfirst into reporting. And we've seen this over and over. And the second they do it, they're overwhelmed because they don't really have a step to get there. So my business partner and I, Beth, we were working on a workflow and action step because we've noticed the whole perspective of intake call all the way up to engagement, that whole process was missing. So we developed this whole workflow with all this automation and this report. And this report shows everything. It's amazing. But I kept telling Beth, there needs to be a calculator, but we couldn't figure out how to place it. And then it just clicked that we need something where people can say, here's my financial goalpost for this month. We need to hit this much money, which is this many engagement agreements. But how do we do that? And so we've developed this calculator now that'll just tell you these numbers, that you're going to need this many in a workshop, you're going to need this many in consultations, or this many initial calls, because we're taking your previous numbers of how you're converting everybody, and we're entering that into this calculator, and it takes 2 seconds to fill out each time. And now you have a goalpost. So if you need 10 engagement agreements, it's going to tell you, based on your conversions, you need 45 initial calls. So if you're 15 days into the month and you only have 5 people that have called in, it's time to regroup and say, how can we brainstorm? Can we get on Facebook? Can we get on Twitter or TikTok somewhere to really bring in some initial calls so we can hit goal? Because the worst stress for any business owner is, are we going to meet financial goal? Because I want to keep providing for my staff who are really driving the law firm.
I love this too, because to your point, the goal is when you start using a tool of this nature, and again, the numbers, it's a calculator. So you can bend and twist this any which way and change your numbers, really phenomenal. How many engagements, how many people do we need to get hired by each month on average? Knowing that what your average case value is, knowing when you get paid, you get paid all up front. We have some firms here that get paid all up front. So easy peasy there. But there's other people that the life cycle of the file might be a year, depending on what type of law you're in. If you're in estate planning or what have you, might be about 6 weeks in an ideal world. If you're in personal injury, what have you, it could be up to 2 years. So knowing what the life cycle of it, because at the end of the day, people are typically, their measuring stick is annually and or quarterly, but then you're constantly frustrated, rightfully so, with the front of your house. And trust us, they're frustrated too, because they feel like they don't know where true north is. They don't know, they're no happier when they're looking at an empty calendar, when if you're client service coordinator, intake coordinator, or non-attorney salesperson, it's up to you to get those initial consultations. To John's point, when you're looking, we don't have enough leads. We're sitting here on the 15th of the month. We don't have enough leads, so we have to huddle. But I would really lobby, if you're just getting started with the tool of this magnitude, and I can't thank John and Beth enough for this, because they did this for people that did get overwhelmed with reporting, or maybe they don't have any reporting. This is a baseline for you to start at. But if you're scrambling and you're looking at this goal calculator, in an ideal world, every week leading up to your monthly goal, and you're scrambling and you're saying, oh boy, it's the 15th of the month, we're in trouble here because we don't have enough leads. We know the life cycle of the lead is X, or maybe you don't, but you're going to start to discover this, and you get into this place of fight or flight. It tells you, okay, it shows you the areas of your firm that need some consistency and hardwired meetings. We need to start having a weekly meeting. Maybe you're not investing in paid advertising or paid lead generation, pay-per-click, Google AdWords, Facebook, what have you, and maybe you don't want to, or you want the bulk of your business is coming from referral sources. And that's in an ideal world. We're both a huge fans of that, and we're highly recommended that. But we're saying, okay, great. We have not been touching our referral sources consistently. So we need to start having a weekly marketing. And that's really another strategic byproduct, from my understanding, John, of why you created this tool, to show you where you have breakdowns in departments and from marketing to client services or non-attorney salesperson, or from attorney salesperson, maybe marketing's getting the leads in, but we're not getting the calendar book, and we need additional training in client services and follow-up, which is what you and I have been teaching for the past 9 weeks in the law firm admin boot camp. But that was another reason that you talked to so many law firms, that you were seeing the breakdown. It's fantastic. We have all these PNCs. Nobody's following up with them. Why aren't they converting, right?
Absolutely. And I'm really glad and thank you for bringing that up. It shows you a very rudimentary breakdown of where things might be falling apart. You may have plenty of leads, but this may show you that at your consultation, people aren't signing engagement agreements. So let's not fix the number of leads. Let's fix why they're not signing engagement agreements. So it gives you some pinpoints of actually in the process where it's not exactly where it should be.
And the pain points, I love that. Can you speak a little bit, like in your experience of what have you noticed people that, all right, they know their pain points, but again, possibly go to this place of overwhelm, and how the heck do we fix all these, especially at one time? Talk to us. I love what you talked about. I think it was 2 weeks ago in class, of just, okay, let's start here. How to identify the pain points and what's the solution? What do you do to turn them around?
Yeah, so identifying pain points. I'm kind of known as the report guy. I love reports. I love numbers. And this tool will start to show you pain points because maybe somebody is too shy to speak up. So we can see now that people coming from workshop, going into consultation, are not booking. Okay, so I can say, in my team, that's going to be client services. Let's talk to them. And now we're learning that that person is actually terrified to pick up the phone, but they're not willing to tell me that. And so we can work through tools where our firm does a lot more process development. And then Molly handles amazing coaching of how to overcome these stresses and hurdles that everybody experiences, but people are saying, oh, it's just me. And as soon as they talk about it with other client services, they start to say, this is a really normal thing. And then you can start identifying those pain points that people are specifically experiencing in that position, but you can't even get to that point unless you can see where these breakdowns are happening. And then you can really start identifying and empowering your team to do what they need to do to feel successful in their role.
Yeah, and I know we've been experiencing this in class, and it's cool because the premise of the reporting, and John, you say this all the time when you start reporting, and I know mutual firms we've worked with that we're seeing, okay, I can tell the follow-up's not being done, and that it's not from a place to shame and blame and, beat up client services or what have you. To your point, a lot of times there's multiple reasons why the follow-up's not being done. Number one, it wasn't clear that that was part of their job. Number two, they are nervous or they're scared to pick up the phone because there's a lack of quote unquote a script there and they're not sure what to say. And I think number three, in the past, well, 3 and 4, because this just came to me because we worked on job descriptions and time templates a couple of weeks ago. They don't have time in their calendar because they're taking inbound calls, and it's very difficult to do outbound calls while you're doing inbound calls and things of that nature. So carving out time in their calendar to have somebody be back up, even for 1 hour a day, even for like 3-4 hours a week, that makes it up. And then number 4 is fear of rejection, afraid that they're so fearful. And there's a story in their head that I'm bothering the prospective client when I call them. And I think we've seen in class where people were like, okay, great, just get started. Here's the script. We've given them a script to start with. And so often they'll come back and there's like, the number one thing I'm hearing is prospective clients are like, Thank you for following up with me.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then we've talked a lot about the fear of rejection. You did this job for so many years in a law firm. So I'd love for you to just maybe spit out some drive-by coaching to empower the attorneys or the team members listening today of what they can do to get started and kind of dismantle that fear.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came from a hotel background working in hotel sales of selling conference rooms, things like that for large events. So that was easy because these are massive corporations calling in. They want to come here. Then all of a sudden I jump into the law firm and these people are calling, but they don't know why they're calling. I mean, they do. They have their reason, but they don't know why they're calling you. And so the first thing was absolutely terrifying of having to pick up that phone to answer it and talk to somebody, or pick up the phone and call. What am I going to say? I'm the driver of this conversation. Excuse me.
Right.
And so is what I learned is, first of all, I just started a technique with myself. If the phone rang, I would go 1, 2, 3 and pick it up. And I quickly learned that it's just like talking to anybody. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know how to get the answers. And I learned it's okay to say, I'm going to give you a call back on, at this time, and I'm going to get that answer for you. And then make sure to follow up. Because if you don't, that's where you can ruin that relationship that's starting to develop between the prospective client and your firm. So I learned it's okay not to know everything, but I also learned the questions they're asking are the same almost every time. Yes. So the more you get over the fear of picking up the phone to call or answer, it's the same questions and you just got that answer. And now you're just starting to develop all of this knowledge because it doesn't deviate that much. Once in a while, you'll have ones that jump off, and that's okay. You just go back to that point of, I don't have to know the answer. I just have to know how to get it.
Absolutely.
And that really helped me.
And in many things, I'll just quickly say the strategic byproduct of that, attorneys, is that you're training your team in regards. So as much as you have these standards within your firm for them to, if they don't know the answer, again, hopefully you have your daily huddles, so they're not delegating back up to you and giving you phone messages and 5-page dissertations of what the client wants, etc. Training them on clarifying and verifying exactly what the prospective client is looking for, then coming back to you, then building an FAQ, and then as much as they could come back and really with the answer, and then drive the person to an initial consultation. Because a great thing, we're training the client service coordinators, you actually don't need to know the answers, because if you did know all the answers and you provided them on the phone, then you're negating the next action in the process, which is initial consultation, discovery call, strategy call, whatever you call it, appointment, what have you. So not knowing the answers, your job is to make them feel acknowledged, make them feel safe, make them feel validated, make them feel heard, and let them know they're in the right place, and then getting them into the initial consultation. Now, maybe sometimes you miss it and you schedule initial consultation, and whoever's handling it, attorney, non-attorney, salesperson, comes out and says, that was a garbage lead. That was a waste of my time. That wasn't a good initial consultation. That's great information, because you go back to your intake process and say, show me what other powerful question do we need to add to this, so I can issue spot that before even allowing them to book initial consultation, right?
Absolutely. And I call those red flag questions. And you're going to get your list of those, and you're only going to get those list of those by picking up the phone to learn what they are. I mean, there's absolutely some legal red flag questions. If somebody's calling for somebody else, okay, are you authorized to plan for them? Or, do you have a guardianship for them? Those are obvious red flag, but they're just going to start popping out. And it's going to become second nature if you just push through it.
Yes. So I want to go back to the tool, you all. John, where can they get a copy of the tool to get started?
Yeah, they can actually just go on our website, which is www.ettingertech.com, Ettinger. And I don't know if you can put a link, Molly, with
Yes,
this video.
absolutely.
So Molly will put up that link and you can just click it. We don't want to charge for this tool. It's too important to just have for ourselves and say, we're going to charge you. Get the tool. It is so beneficial. You can play with your numbers and you're going to see how to really level out and create a steady stream versus just burst after burst after burst, overwhelming your back office. And then it's just a lull again. This can really get your stream moving in the right direction.
Yes. And you'll see by the tool, Prospective Goal Calculator, number of engagements that's needed for 30 days shelf life. And then I love this calculator because you can really, how many initial contacts do we need? PNC, prospective new clients. Maybe you're doing seminars or workshop. How many attendees do we need? How many consultations do we need? How many engagement agreements are sent out? How many engagement agreements do we have back in? This is going to show you on the third column of what your goals are and everything that you need. There's instructions for use. So thank you for creating those for our listeners as well, John.
Yeah, you're very welcome. This is exciting, and I hope everybody finds such benefit out of it, because we've seen it too many times, and this is really a pain point that we wanted to put a plug into.
And this is what I love, because if you do not have a CRM, maybe you don't have Lawmatics, Clio Grow, Action Step, Clio Manage, whatever system, what have you, that your reporting is customized, you don't need that. This is an Excel format. You can absolutely start here. And this is no excuse to not know your numbers as we close out the year. You now have this tool in place to be in place for 2023 within your weekly stakeholders meeting. If you all don't have an agenda, reach out to me. I'm happy to give you any of the agendas that we have to go hand in hand with this Prospective Goal Calculator. Also for your weekly marketing meeting on there, it's a way for you. There's a whole formula to test your client service coordinator, your intake, in addition to your marketing. So there's no excuse not to know your numbers. There's no excuse not to get really, really clear on your perspective. We talk to so many firms, and so often we're like, how many engagements do you need a month? And we get crickets, or we get the deer in the headlight look, or maybe somebody, they do know that answer, and we're like, great, what's your conversion rate? How many initial contacts do you need? How many engagement agreements do you need to be set? How many people are coming into your initial consultations? What percentage are not converting? What percentage are booking, but then cancellations and reschedules? So this will give you that data to get started, and then you can one small step at a time and dig deeper and deeper and deeper to get your numbers.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that. This is a very rudimentary version of that. We have much more detailed reports that will tell you down to the 0.12 of everything. But this gets you started so powerfully. Even if you're just using Excel, if you just have a sticky note with your intakes, it doesn't matter. This will give you that information.
Absolutely. Oh, John, thank you for being our guest as always. EttingerTech.com. We're going to have the goal calculator link in the show notes. You can also go to EttingerTech.com and get the link as well for people that are driving or exercising or what have you. Correct, John?
Yep, absolutely. It's on our homepage. So
excellent. All right.
Beautiful.
No excuses. No excuses, especially as you walk into 2023. Y'all make sure you have your framework in place for your standardization of meetings to meet with your intake and sales team. that goes hand in hand with your marketing. So you're not in that place of fight, flight, or freeze where we're panicking on the 15th of the month. This is a proactive measure for you to reach your goals and finally have consistency within your calendar, within your intake, within your follow-up, and within your engagements, which it leads to revenue and profitability.
We've reached the end of another impactful conversation on the Hire and Empower podcast. Whether this was your first episode or you're a longtime listener, I know you can tell I have passion for people. Whether you're a business owner, employee, executive, or hiring manager, I understand the situation you're in. Hiring, onboarding, and leadership is expensive, exhausting, overwhelming, and if that's not enough, it's also time-consuming. My friends, it doesn't have to be this way. There is a team at H&E that has your back. For over 25 years, they've transformed over 4,000 law firms into efficient, effective, profitable assets for their business and made it fun to come to work again. Check out our Smart Hire solution, our employee leadership program, and the 66-day law firm turnaround at hiringandempowering.com. This episode is being sponsored by Legalese Marketing. Listen, law firms have many ebbs and flows, and we tend to see this typical pattern. When things around the office are slow, lawyers get better at following up. But when the bustle is back, they tend to drop the ball. What if you had a system in place that not only automated follow-ups, but could guide potential clients seamlessly through the intake process and beyond? The team at Legalese works with your firm to create a custom pipeline of emails, text messages, and follow-up calls sent to your leads when you want them to be sent. Whether it's a consultation confirmation email sent a minute after the request goes through, long-term nurture emails sent 6 months later, a request for Google reviews sent to the most opportune times, they put a system in place that improves your client experience while taking tasks off of your plate. Or maybe you're already rolling in a software or CRM, but it's not set up as you want. Or perhaps you know you could be maximizing your automations more. Sometimes it's hard to tell what you need without a deep dive into your account. That's where Legalese audits and analysis come in. First, their team will learn everything about your processes and how you intend them. Then they'll go through your automations and map out the needed changes. Lastly, you'll discuss a plan forward and how to make your optimized office a reality. Legalese team pushes the boundaries of what automation can do to help your firm operate in ways you think were possible. Don't let potential clients slip through the cracks by not following up with them. Schedule a consultation today with Legalese Marketing. They look forward to helping you create more time, consistency, and your KPIs. To learn more, go to legalesemarketing.com and book your free consultation call today.